Hi everybody, I'm Irene from Collier County Library, and today we're going to be discussing an awesome book. But first I want to introduce you to my book buddy this week for this discussion.
Hi, my name is Amanda, and I am a librarian here at the library.
And what are we going to be reading today, or talking about today, Amanda?
We're going to talk about The Lonely Hearts Book Club by Lucy Gilmore.
So our first question on the block is going to be, on Goodreads, and that's kind of a Goodreads scale, you can get up to 5 stars. How would you rate the book? I'm going to give this book a 3.5. I know it's hard to give a half star, but that's what I'm going to give it. Because it was a good book. I enjoyed it. It had a little bit of depth to it. It had amazing character development. But it still didn't leave me breathless, like I could read it again or want to own it in my library. So that's kind of how I felt about the book. How about you?
Yeah, I had a similar feeling. 3.5 is what I gave it. I enjoyed the story. I was interested to see how it ended. I did not like the pacing in some parts regarding like Mateo's situation. Some of those sections didn't seem to me to be there. But a lot of parts felt relatable. And as someone working with the public, that felt very familiar. The family ups and downs with friends, that, of course, that felt familiar.
So the basic synopsis of the book is we have a young girl named Sloan, and she works in a library, which is what we really loved about the book.
Yes.
Because, of course, we work in the library, so it's kind of fun. And she's a librarian, and she meets Arthur. And Arthur is a curmudgeon. He's a grouchy old man. But for whatever reason, Sloan just has a really good time bantering with him and engaging with this old gentleman. And then one day, he's gone.
Yes.
And what happens from there, Amanda?
Sloan is interested to find out where he went, because he goes every day or quite often. She kind of goes about it the wrong way. She looks in at his personal information, which is a big no-no in the libraries, and it caused her to lose her job because she checked on him.
And she checked on him more than once. And Octavia basically said, if you do it again, you're going to lose your job. And she lost her job over it. But this is the beginning of the book where they begin to slowly create a little book club.
Yes.
And there's a lot of characters. We're going to talk about them in detail. But it's a really interesting book. So I would say definitely read it, probably not own it.
I would say the same. Get it from your local library.
Absolutely. So question 2, I'm going to start. Character development is a huge part of this book. Let's talk a little bit about the characters. Amanda, what characters from the book were your favorites, and who were your least favorites?
My favorite was Maisie. She was a bit of a dreamer. She was a great mom. She couldn't let go or have some distance. She was kind of a helicopter mom. But she did better through Mr. McLaughlin's tough love. I just really liked her character. Sloan, I was a little less interested in.
Even though she was the main character?
Yes. Yeah. I like how she kind of came into herself at the end, but she was kind of a dud to me. And Arthur was great just because he was so wacky, and he just spoke his truth, even though it was pretty mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my favorite character in the book was Arthur, because he was such a cantankerous old man, but I really enjoyed his sense of humor. I thought it was kind of funny, and even his really snipey moments, he was pretty profound. And the more you got to know him in the book, the more you felt empathy for him. In the first part, you really thought he was just a grouchy old man, but then you realized he had reasons for being a grouchy old man, and he had regrets that he really had. And he also is in love with Anna Green Gables, which is my favorite book of all time. So I was like right spot on with him. So I was in. The character I liked the least was Octavia. She is the head librarian at the library, and she's really, really pushy and mean to Sloan, I think. And in the end, she fires her, and I don't think it was a fireable offense. I think it's harsh, but I guess it could be a fireable offense because it is against the rules.
Yeah.
It was done with good intentions, but I guess she deserved to be fired. But I just didn't care for Octavia.
Well, she wasn't the best manager, right? right? She wasn't really building Sloane up. She more cut her down.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of our other characters, we had Mateo. So he was the librarian that worked alongside of Sloane. Him and his partner were very close, but they were struggling.
Yes.
I had a hard time with his story. The ultimate part of this book was that he really was a great singer, amazing singer. However, his mother loved to sing,
Yes.
and he felt very encroached on by his mom. So whenever she'd drag him up there from the time he was very young, they do duets together. And so he had a very foul thought about singing. But it really was his raw talent, and everybody that heard him sing would say, you're missing out. You don't want to be a librarian. You don't want to be a nurse. You should be a singer.
Yeah, he kind of bounced around between jobs, not in the book, but he referenced that. He had issues with his mother, basically. He needed to get through that.
Everybody in the book has some kind of issue with somebody that you're dealing with grief or conflict or something in the book. So you see how they grow through their conflicts, which is really cool. Cool book.
Yeah.
All right, question 3. I'll let you read it.
All right. Sloane is a quiet, meek, and afraid to speak up for herself until she meets Arthur. What do you think it is about Arthur that ignites a spark within her?
I think Sloane is overlooked. She's a super friendly, positive person. But I think a lot of people in the library just assume she's going to be that person. And I think Arthur was the first person to really kind of look at her and not just play along with her positivity, really. He kind of snarked at her. Even at one point when he was pretty harsh, there's a thing where he said, do you know what you are? She kind of kept pushing his buttons, and he finally responded. He said, you're an echo. You're an echo with nothing and no one to call your own. And that's really harsh. So, but I think it was that point in time where somebody actually kind of saw her, because she was dealing with the grief of losing her sister for so long. And I think he kind of saw beside the facade of pleasant, happy Sloane and realized that deep down inside she really had a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that's why. What do you think?
Well, yes, I think Arthur liked to push boundaries. I think he had a lot of pain, and he may have seen that in her as well. I think it comes out later that he just wanted so much better for her. He really did like her.
Yes.
Oh, and then for my answer to this with Sloane and Arthur, I think that he doesn't let her get away with not speaking her truth. He's painfully honest, but she's been low with her sister passing, her parents constantly fighting, not being in love with her husband or even really liking him that much. She does not speak her truth, and that's a huge problem.
Right.
So he helps her with that.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, question 4. The novel that the book club chooses to read mirror what's going on within their lives. What book best captures your life and the outlook right now?
Okay. So, I was thinking that back in my 20s, I really liked The Sun Also Rises. It had to do with kind of living freely, like in a city, and that just seemed pretty great to me then. Right now, I like Hello Beautiful. Yeah, it's got the family drama. It just touches on time wasted when you're mad at family members and you choose not to speak to them, or whatever it may be. I really like that part of Hello Beautiful. And Sorry I'm Late. I didn't want to come. An Introvert's Year of Saying Yes. I love that book. I feel more of an omnivert, an introvert-extrovert mix, but I just love the title, and the book I recommend it.
Awesome. The book that best captures my life right now, there's a lot of change going on. So there's a book I just read in its 4th night. It's a fantasy book. Amazing. If you're a fantasy person, definitely read the book. But there's a line in it that just happens over and over. Every day she wakes up and she's like, I'm not going to die today. I'm not going to die today. And I know that sounds really extreme. In the book it wasn't. But it's kind of a mantra for me right now. Like you wake up and you go, okay, it's another day and I got this.
Yep.
I'm not going to die today. Everything's going to go well and I can deal with all the change. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with the books. and I kind of feel like it has a little mantra for me in there. But there are other books like examples. Anne of Green Gables is one of my very favorites, and when she says, every day is a new day with no mistakes in it. I think that's an amazing quote, and it's a quote I try to live by, that you wake up and you can kind of start fresh as much as you can and do the best that you can. So I think both those books were definitely impactful in my life.
Absolutely.
Question 5?
Yeah. This is mine? All right. The book is divided into each member of the book club's viewpoint. The individual sections end when that character faces their heart or self head on for the first time. What character did you most identify with and why?
This was a tough question. It is very interesting in the book the way she writes this. So each chapter is a different character in the book, and it's their perspective on what's going on through the lens of their life. So I think the character that I identified with the most was Greg. He's the estranged grandson. So he comes along. Greg is basically from a pregnancy his mom had when she was very young. And because of that pregnancy, she leaves Arthur in a very, very awful moment, and she never speaks to him again, and he never meets his grandfather. And when she's dying, and they don't say exactly what she's dying from, I don't think, but some kind of terrible disease or cancer, that's what they give the vibe for.
Yeah.
And when she passes away, she basically says, I want you to go, and I want you to get to know your grandfather, because I didn't, and I should have. So I kind of relate with him because I have people in my life that I am estranged from for different reasons. You make choices, and it just made me recheck it and go, is this the right thing? It's also very interesting getting to know people and knowing they're your family, so you kind of have to get to know them. If that makes any sense. So like my son has a new girlfriend, so we're getting to know her. And so we're not necessarily estranged, but we don't know each other, so she's family. So she's in all those family parties and family things and everything, but we are estranged in the sense we haven't really connected yet. So we're working on it. So that's kind of how I feel. I think that's the one I relate with the most. I also relate some with Sloane. If you've had a deep death in your family from somebody, I think I can relate with that. I've lost both my mom and dad. And so some of the grief that she was going through, I can understand, and I can relate on that level with that character. So it was quite a good book for relatability.
Yeah. I think that's part of why people like it so much. They can relate to these characters. The character I related to was Matteo, and his relationship with his mother. He's not always on the same page as her. He doesn't always understand where she's coming from. And it takes him a long time to realize that everything she does is truly out of love for him. And she's just being the best mom she can be.
Right.
And as a daughter that has a mother, I can understand that. Not always being on the same page as your parent, but knowing that they love you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, question 6.
Yeah.
So this is our last question. What do you think happens to the characters after the book's official ending?
Okay.
This is always fun, because it ends and then you're like, what do I think happened?
All right. Did Sloane go back to the library?
Not in the book.
Okay. So she might go back to the library.
I hope so, right?
She might get with Greg.
The grandson?
I'm a couple, yes. Sloane, I think, will distance herself from her family even more. They're very toxic. And I think Matteo will stay with his mom, and they'll keep an eye on Arthur. They'll probably keep checking in on him, and Maisie will have better boundaries with her daughter.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with most of what you said. I think that Greg will actually move in with Arthur. I think he'll become like a helpmate. Like he'll be a roommate, per se. And maybe Sloane too, because if Greg and her get together, maybe the whole 3 of them will be happily ever after in the house. I don't know. I can see it.
Yeah.
I think the book club's going to continue. And I think a really strong relationship between Nigel and Arthur is going to develop. They both were in love with the same woman, which is kind of interesting in the story. That part of the story we didn't really get to, but I think they mourn her, both of them do, and I think on special days and certain things, they relate with her, so, and they can relate to each other, so I think that relationship will grow. Maisie's, I hope she finds a job where she can be something more than just a person that talks on the phone as a psychic, because I think she could be more.
Yeah,
so
like
I'm hoping,
counselor or something.
yeah, because I think she could grow into herself a little bit more, and then letting her daughter have boundaries. So she has her own life, and her daughter has her own life, and they can share that instead of her whole life revolving around just her daughter. So I think that's what's going to happen in my world anyway. That's what I think is going to happen.
Do you think there could be a second book?
I don't think there's enough material for a second book. What do you think?
I don't know. I think she could do it.
You think so?
There are a lot of loose ends.
That's true. Do you think it could be a movie?
Yes, definitely. Or a TV show.
So who's going to be the grumpy old man?
Maybe Bill Murray.
Yeah?
No, yeah.
Possibly. I could see it. I love the guys from Grumpy Old Men, but I think they both have passed away now.
It's been a minute, yes.
But that's a great movie, but they were super. Or the other one, who's the guy that
Maybe
plays...
Morgan Freeman.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
He could be a grumpy old man.
Yeah.
Yep. Or who's the guy that wears the cowboy hat in Space Cowboys? Anybody remember? Anyway, he could do it. So, this is the end of our book club discussion. If you want to join us, we do a virtual book club where you can call in and answer some of these questions yourself, and we have a lot of fun over Zoom. That is going to be next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Follow us on collierlibrary.org/events. Sign up, and I will send you a link to the Zoom meeting. So I hope everybody enjoyed our book discussion today, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.